We've talked a lot about what is happening on the financial regulation and the role AI has to play in it. So when we think about the trends for the financial regulations and the use of AI, is there any case to be done for responsible AI?
Yeah, there's an aspect of AI which clearly needs to be regulated, which is the ethical part. The access to the largest or the smartest AI will certainly provide capabilities which nobody else can have, or how you use it. It's of course a question of ethics. In fact, some of the issues which are generated when you say explainability, for example, we discussed that earlier, that there are methodologies for controlling hallucination, but that's not just the issue. The issue even goes back to normal machine learning processes, which have been around for much longer than the 2 or 3 years we had ChatGPT. For example, the problem with bias is something that it's very evident in the anybody who uses data sets, because the data set might have the way it's been created or the way this has been working overlaps with the judgment that you would have if you had to do it yourself, meaning that the bias sometimes reflects or pushes toward solutions which do not take into account ethical matters. For example, the one which is the most common one in terms of questionable use of an AI could be the creditworthiness of a person. Now, the creditworthiness of a person, you can reduce it to either a simple algorithm, or you can say if you are using AI and AI uses samples, you may be involuntarily pushing the solution that has been given not to prioritize certain segments of society. And the bias is embedded already in the previous data, and so that it gets reflected. And I'm using this specific example because if you look into the EU AI Act itself, which is mainly talking about ethics, but it does introduce the concept of what is considered an acceptable risk taking or what is like high risk. And the creditworthiness checks is actually considered a high risk for the reason that I just said. If you're not calibrating the machine, if you're not able to explain how you came to that conclusion, you, meaning the AI, came to that conclusion, you will have to face the fact that there are issues which are going beyond the controls of what you can set up in the when you're building up your own model. And this is to say that the ethics, we can use these fabulous machines for a variety of tasks, and there's nothing wrong in developing new ways of making money, right? Especially in financial markets. But at the same time, there are certain aspects or certain applications which put in jeopardy sustainability or governance or processes which we want to push toward new direction, and a machine doesn't necessarily address those issues.
The EU AI Act is the first large regulation of its kind, and because it's also based on that risk-based approach where you take into account the materiality, as you said, but also the probability of occurrences. It's a first step. It needs to be evolving, it needs to be refined, and also it needs to be potentially extended.